Hey guys, Chris from Drift Outfitters here, and today I want to show you how to make a split thread loop. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start some thread here. And if you're not familiar with the concept, a split thread loop is basically just a dubbing loop, but made with a single strand of thread instead of two doubled over strands of thread. And so it just gives you a much smaller profile, which lends itself, of course, to smaller flies, gives you a little less bulk in the finished fly. Now when you're starting, you'll either most likely be using a twisted thread or a flat thread. Most threads, I would say, are twisted, and so you'll need to flatten them a little bit. Take, for example, if you want to think of a flat thread, take a power thread or a gel spun, where the fibers sort of separate off the bat. Twisted threads usually are more round in profile, and so you'll need to untwist them to flatten them out. Now you can see my thread hanging here is already sort of untwisted itself, and so you can see those fibers splayed out like so. But if it was twisted, if you had been tying a fly, it would have been twisted. You would be putting consecutive twists in with each additional wrap. If you're a right-handed tyer and you're wrapping the normal direction, it's going to be a counterclockwise twist. So looking down the barrel of the bobbin, you would just give it a little twist until those fibers start to splay out. All right. So with our thread flattened here, what you're going to want next is a bodkin with a good sharp point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bobbin and I'm actually going to try and split the thread. I'm going to part the thread into two halves. Now I find the easiest way to do this is to take a fingernail or thumbnail, and if you put over the top of the nail, you can see how that kind of flattens the thread and slightly splays those fibers, so you can more easily get that bodkin in there. I'll flip this around and do this. This takes a little practice. It is a fairly finicky technique, but once you get it down, it's really not too bad. So now you can see how I've split the thread into two halves. And this is, I'm just going to treat it like a dubbing loop. You can use wax if you want. You don't have to. Depends on the fiber that you're trying to put in there. Some fibers might require it. In this case, I'm just going to use a pinch of dyed green hare's ear here. I'm just going to take some fibers and exactly like a dubbing loop, going to place them right in there. Going to release on my loop so it cinches up between them. And then instead of twisting a dubbing twister, I'm just going to spin my bobbin. All right, so I'm going to give it a good twist here, letting that pinch those fibers together. This may take a few more twists than it would with a dubbing twister, I would say, usually. Once you're confident that that is good and tight, you can use a dubbing brush if you want and just sort of pick things out a little bit, get those fibers sticking out. Like so. You can pull those fibers back, just so they don't get too trapped. And you see this gives you the same profile as a regular dubbing loop would. You can brush the fibers out as much as you want from here if you like. But because we've just used that single strand of thread, this creates no more bulk in the actual underbody, in the thread portion of the fly, than dubbing the dubbing straight onto your fly would. So it's a great option for smaller flies and gives you some really cool effects.